Shalom. This is an emergency broadcast alert giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Regardadash, in whom we are in great debt. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who were well. Continue doing so Continue doing so, standing firm in the eyes of Torah, who I learned this truth from. To the elders, the bishops, Akim and Aquab, salutations and blessings to the house of David. We are the hopeful elect at GMS. This is your brother Quasiyar with another quick one. Somewhat quick. Apostle Tahar made a video, and I just want to piggyback on some things that he said because, well, let me just show you. Simple. Now listen to what Apostle Tahar says. All right, because it's funny that I have found certain things, and I have been analyzing it, and I've checked it out, and I went into it a couple of times. I went as far as mentioning it in 2 videos, and now today I went a little further and did a little bit more investigation, and because there's something that this so-called professor, because I say so-called professor because everybody learns under Esau Edom, so-called white man, and they learn what they want you to learn. Now, when you start reading the scriptures, because Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai called you, knocked on your door, then you look at the world differently. So with that said,
next 30 days could change everything. Professor Jane analysis. And that's what we're doing now. We're in the stage of the game where we analyzing everything. We're going back almost 20 years. We broke down every prophetic breakdown that could be broken down. So you individuals out there can know. And we didn't charge anybody for breakdowns like IUIC did back years ago. If you wanted any specific breakdowns of Revelation 11, let's say, I'm just throwing it out to the air, you had to pay a price for it. Now they start breaking it down right without charging, because they said, well, wait a minute, people are going to go to GMS to get the breakdown for free when they're not going to, and at the same time they're not going to pay. We're not going to get paid for it. So that shows you that this man, Bishop Nate, his motivation is about money. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense to him. It doesn't make sense to him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into, Spirit keeps putting in my head, Revelation chapter 20, verse 7, because Bishop Nate equates Revelation 20, verse 7, really 7 and 8, to Ezekiel 38. And he says that also Isaiah 24, where he says that we're going to be in the kingdom for 1,000 years. We're going to reign for 1,000 years, pursuant to Revelation 20, verse 4. And then Gog and Magog, or Magog, will attack us on our 1,000th anniversary. So we're gonna be.
Salakia, I'm not waiting that far video. I'm trying to make a point. I don't want to go as far as, because the video might take longer than what I wanted if I was to wait for that breakdown that Apostle Tahar wants to do, because that is nonsense that Nathaniel is talking about. Apostle Tahar has talked about that. Other brothers and elders have made several videos on the stupidity that Nathaniel has been saying. So my point here is the MOTB. All right, all this is for the MOTB. All right, you see how Apostle Tahar and the other elders and bishops were saying World War III won't happen until the implementation of the MOTB. All right, that's not going to happen until the MOTB. This is my point of making this video. and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna fast forward into where the professor, which I said, so-called professor, because you work and you learn under Esau Edom, so-called white man's rule, and when the Lord, calls upon you, and you start breaking down, and you get back into the fullness of His word, and you start drinking this water, man, you see the world for what it is. So let me get to the point. Okay, there's something else I wanted to add to this before I forget.
John saw it. It's the same event, and that's going to happen in our lifetime. All the major armies that possess modern weaponry, they're all entering. Well, Nero, he was asking for help, so that means he's summoning the NATO nations to come down there, and they don't want it. They said, this is not our war, and they're all saying, you go to YouTube, they're saying that this guy don't know what he's talking about. He got us into something that he can't get us out. He figured it was going to take a couple of days, like Venezuela, and then he'll just own that big section of the Middle East, or the so-called Middle East. He's not a war expert. I don't even think he was a cadet. I don't even think the boy was a Boy Scout or a Cub Scout. Man wasn't in the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine. He has no experience when it comes to war. War is a very complicated thing.
So he did go to a school, but I think that it wasn't in the United States because it was cover up. It was a cover. So he wouldn't be what was the word? I don't know. He would have looked down. They wouldn't look down on him because of his family and whatnot. So they made up a story over it. And this is what I found, because this is a BS story though. All right? So, real reason Donald Trump avoided serving in the war when he was younger, as medical diagnosis is explained. Sure, I'm sure, yeah. When you have a lot of money, you can have so many illnesses, and they miraculously go away after the war is over. Sure. Look at this. He avoided draft 4 times. He avoided the draft. I mean, I could link this. I'll link this. So you can read it if you want. But see, it says, father of 5 was told medics suffer from bone spurs. Fair use. Again, I apologize for the noise.
Because what am
Happened. Give me a second, y'all.
has existed since 1945. The American-led, dollar-denominated, oil-dependent global system is currently absorbing the most serious stress test it has ever faced.
This is the end of their rulership. Why do the heathens rage? And the people imagine a vain thing, Psalm 2. Because these nations, they see the weakness. The fact that you declare war on Iran, which is right here, and now you're begging the European, the NATO nations to assist you. When you ask for assistance, that means you are losing. When you need help, that means you are losing.
And the next 30 days will determine whether that system bends or breaks.
And they'll be there for the next 30 days. Remember, he said he's going to be there for a few weeks, At most, he's going to be there for 3-4 weeks or a month or whatever. So we're in this war is what, 3 weeks in? 2.5 going on to 3 weeks in.
Breaks wide open. When I say world order, I mean 3 specific things. Number 1, the US dollar as the global reserve currency. Number 2, American military dominance, concentrated heavily in the Middle East. And number 3, the movement of oil through a narrow strip of water that most people couldn't locate on a map if you paid them. None of these are separate.
Well, this is it right here. That's the Strait of Hormuz. That's the Persian Gulf. When you go down this way, you got Africa, which is over here. I'm sorry. You got Africa, which is right around here. You can't see this. This is in the way. And we believe that's how the Northern Kingdom came to the Americas, through this waterway. You see, this is, they landed here. They occupied all this here. As you should know. So this is it. This guy, there's a song in the old saying, fools rush in. He's a complete fool. He's a complete idiot. And this is what you have when you have a bunch of spineless leaders. I'm talking about the Congress, the Senate, House of Reps, military.
And let me add what he was saying before. This professor, right? These people work together until they can't work no more. Remember their history. And I'm talking about, when I say remember their history, so-called white man's history. They'll kill a family member so they can sit on the throne seat, man.
You just stood there and watch him do all these things. And now you can't get out. Now he's trying to sit at the bargaining table and calling for a ceasefire. He's been doing that for the last, 2 weeks? Week and a half, I would say. Iran says no. First of all, you killed their supreme leader.
Again, that's another part of his playbook. Esau Edom, so-called white man. He sends in the dummies, and then he sends in the guns, and then he sends his the think tanks, man. That's always been his playbooks. Always his playbook. But the thing is that it is Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai that's controlling everything, and we all know this at GMS. We know this, right? I'm gonna show you. I don't know exactly how the Lord is gonna have him play it out, but I know why is where it's headed. I can see why it's headed that way. Watch what this guy says. This professor says something that triggered it, and I'm like, that's it.
I believe his grandkid or grandkids, I believe his wife, his son's wife, supposedly his son, which he's now the new leader, the supreme leader. He's supposed to be supposedly in a coma, missing, had a leg amputated. So that's nothing but revenge. That's nothing but hate. And the fact that I'm going to say this again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, the fact that you are calling out for help shows weakness.
All right, so this guy is about to say it now, and I'm going to show you what I found after he stops.
That's all dealing with game theory. Like war games. So you can look that word up too. Game theory.
And how fast can they do it? When you ask that question, the picture looks nothing like what you see on cable news. The Gulf states, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, don't just produce oil and sell it to the world. They take those oil revenues and pour them directly into American financial markets, into sovereign wealth funds that hold trillions of dollars worth of American tech stocks, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, Apple, the handful of companies currently propping up the entire US stock market are heavily backed by Gulf State investment. So trace
Gulf State investment. This is the Gulf. That's what he's talking about. Persian Gulf. If the Persian Gulf, if they were to actually close this off, man, prices go. Well, you go back to your rations. I remember that in '73. If you had the last number on your plate, if it was an even number, you had an even day. Then the next day was an odd day, and then there was lines around the block, down the street. People to line up and get a fill up.
And Esau Edom, so-called white man, did not care. He didn't care because he had an agenda working behind the scenes. When that happened, it was the little hats. I'm not gonna. Well, I can't get into that. Look, just do some research. What was just said and what Apostle Tahar just said, and the little hats. All right, just look that up. Now, more clearly, we're getting into the subject. Okay.
It's the domino. If this conflict deepens, if Gulf state governments destabilize, if oil revenues drop sharply, those funds stop flowing into Wall Street and start getting redirected towards survival. And when that investment dries up, the 7 or 8 tech companies carrying the weight of the American stock market begin dropping in value, and that drop doesn't produce a recession, it produces a depression. The water situation compounds all of this. The Gulf states import 80% of their food. They produce almost none of it domestically. And 60% of their freshwater supply comes from desalination plants, factories that converts seawater into drinking water.
And Esau Edom don't care. Esau Edom, so-called white man, don't care as long as his plan are being fulfilled. That is part of his playbook. Okay, here it goes. Finally.
Forces your hand regardless of preference. And that means within the next 30 days, at least one major power will almost certainly make a move that defines the shape of this conflict for years ahead. Now comes the part this channel exists for. Game theory requires that you set aside the explosions, set aside the political statements, and ask one clean question about each player. What's your best possible outcome and what's your worst possible outcome?
Actually, the question is, what corporation is going to lead or say stay in power with the RFID? Is the true question, because the corporations are the ones that are leading these wars. They're the ones who are manipulating everything behind the scenes because they control everything. And they're the same owner. The bankers are the same owners who own these corporations.
In Ezra's 15 verse 28, behold, an horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, the Ishmaelites and Arab states, shall come out with many, chariots, I believe that's supposed to be spelled different. And a multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, which are the Armenians, I did videos on this. If you look up the word Carmanians, that's another word for the Iranians or the Persians or Elam, raging. Remember, Pakistan is a Muslim, partially Muslim country. These East Indian countries, a lot of them are Muslim countries. Some of them are Hindu, mostly Muslim. They'll join forces too. Also the Carmanians, the people of Iran, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power, the military power, shall they come and lone battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Assyrians is what? America. Their portions, all they got to do is get American interests. And then shall the dragons have the what? The upper hand. Going back to what I said. Nero is asking for support from the NATO nations. They're saying this is not our war, this is your war. You were stupid enough to get involved in it. Now, I hope you're smart enough to pull out of this thing. You ask people of Iran, the nation of Iran, to sit down at the bargaining table, ceasefire. They don't want it. Their mindset is for revenge. You killed their supreme leader. Remembering their nature, these dragons represent, it tells you that in Amos 5. Lean your hand against a wall, and the dragon was on that wall. As dragon bit you. I'm merely paraphrasing. I'm not going to go to it. That's Amos 5. Starting from the 18th verse, I believe. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together, they're going to all come, these Arab nations, East Indian nations, these Muslim nations, they're all going to come together in great power to persecute them. Then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them. And because who's going to do the main consumption? The Russians and the Chinese. Their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north, that's Russia, unto the south, and they shall and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath or anger and storm. When you shoot missiles, they call it a storm, raining terror down on you. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own stars, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. And it says that something similar to that in Isaiah, Revelation 14. All right, it says, and dung of men unto the camel's hoof, meaning there's going to be a lot of dead bodies. Ezekiel chapter 39 is going to come into play. Ezekiel 38, from Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 39 is going to come into play. This place is going to be utterly destroyed. And how many people in America know this, or is anticipating it? The only ones are the Israelites, and the one Westers, because even IUIC sees it, ISUBK sees it, and I guess some others see it, but they don't see the mark of the beast.
Boom. Give me a second. That's what I'm talking about. Give me a second. So my question was, who donated billions to Iran for biometric and neural implants? Crypto exchange Binance may have founded Iran entities. Reports say that's one. Post misrepresents unfreezing of 16 billion in Iran's money, right? So it was Biden who did that, right? So remember how things are done, right? They are done planning years ahead, right? Ain't nobody was thinking about bombing Iran when Biden was in the presidency, right? Ain't nobody was thinking about that, right? But guess what? By giving these people the money back, they should work on these biometric, all right? Look at this right here, right? Claims Biden unfroze 16 billion for Iran are missing context, right? So he unfrozen there, they disappear all over the sun. Where's this guy at, man? Where's this guy at? Give me a second, let me look for it. Another one, fact check. Did the U.S. under Obama give Iran 150 billion for what? You will wonder. All right, why are all these corporations? Fact check. Did U.S. send money to Iran funding group? What it says here? Money Iran funding group that attack Israel. This is all propaganda, man. To hide something. Right? Give me a second. So where does Iran get all this money, you may ask? Billions and billions and billions of dollars being pumped into Iran. For what? Iran top 20 medical facilities on brain mapping. I typed that in. I did this before. So, human brain mapping in Iran. Scientists talk about this. Let me see. Jing Shang, alright? Human brain mapping in Iran. What's this? Mojtaba, what is this? Dr. Mojtaba, I can't even pronounce his name. What's this? Given your foreign training experience, what inspired you to move back to Iran? So he was training somewhere else and he went back to Iran. Let's see if I see something here. Alright, let's go to the next one. This one says top 30 neuromedicine specialist hospitals in Iran. In recent years, Iran has emerged as a hub for medical tourism, offering state-of-the-art healthcare facility and advanced treatment for various medical conditions. This article, focuses. Oh, look, they're locking me out. Let's see. Refresh. No, they're locking me out. Check that out. They locked me out. They saying it's not secure, but they don't want to let me in. So here's this. Look at this. Iran's Natal Brain Mapping Lab enjoys leading role in Treating brain. Let's see. Let me see if they let me in here. Okay. It says, please click here if the page does not respond. Okay, come on. Alright, look. Can't reach this page. I wonder why. Cocksuckers. And if you dig enough, you'll probably find Jeff Bezos and all these other companies, man, that are funding these people. All right, and at the end of the day, it's Esau Edom, so-called white man. So, anyways, that's my point, man. Because that's what Apostle Tahar said. Just let me go back to that.
And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together, they're going to all come, these Arab nations, East Indian nations, these Muslim nations, they're all going to come together in great power to persecute them. Then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them. And because who's going to do the main consumption? The Russians and the Chinese. Their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north, that's Russia, unto the south, and they shall and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath or anger and storm. When you shoot missiles, they call it a storm, raining terror down on you. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own stars, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. And it says that something similar to that in Isaiah, Revelation 14. All right, it says, and dung of men unto the camel's hoof, meaning there's going to be a lot of dead bodies. Ezekiel chapter 39 is going to come into play. Ezekiel 38, from Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 39 is going to come into play. This place is going to be utterly destroyed. And how many people in America know this, or is anticipating it? The only ones are the Israelites, and the one Westers, because even IUIC sees it, ISUBK sees it, and I guess some others see it, but they don't see the mark of the beast. So they're thinking, oh, we're gonna be out of here next month. Nope, you ain't gonna be out of here no next month. You gotta be presented with that chip. Anyway, I went long.
And let me just add that the fact that they're saying that BB's dead, they probably flew, or should I say, he used that submarine, came to America, and he's living up in the mountains. Remember, that's what they did to, that's what they said that happened, with Hitler, right? That he got killed. But then later on, like maybe 20 years later, there was evidence of him living in the mountains somewhere. And why did they wait so long to put the pressure on him and investigate him, or should I say interview him into all the atrocities that he had done? And right at the midst of all this investigation, he decides to go bomb Iran, the Palestinians, not Iran, but the Palestinians, right? So like, start all this war, so conveniently he could disappear. Esau Edom's playbook, man. Anyways, don't be surprised if this all dies down and everything goes back to normal. as you think it would be, for the people. But in the background, there's still going to be some turmoil and tensions going on, because we at Great Millstone know that this is about to happen in order for the chip to be moved around. That's all I got for now. Shalom.